It's been a year since Warhammer Plus launched. From the promise of the pre-launch announcement to the disappointment of the first 5 months, we've had highs, we've had lows. But has it been any good, and is it worth a resub? As I understood it, Warhammer Plus was first and foremost an animation service. Sure, they were offering perks like discount vouchers and early access to tickets and things like that, which I don't think ever materialised. But to me, it was all about the animations, which is great, but it's not really what we got, at least initially. Just a note, I'm not going to go into the politics of GWV fan animators because I don't know enough about the situation to make an informed comment. I will say though that putting previously free content behind a paywall is never going to be a popular move. Warhammer Plus consists of 3 regular shows, Masterclass, Battle Report and Loremasters, 1 irregular show in Deep Strike, which we've only had a couple of, and of course the animations. It's also supported by Warhammer Vault, which includes campaign books, rule books, White Dwarves, all things like that. After a pretty strong launch day, we were drip-fed shows 1 or 2 at a time on a Wednesday at 1 o'clock. You had to wait a week for new content, and then when you got the content you could finish it in your lunch hour, and I think that rubbed a lot of people up the wrong way. I don't think it met anyone's pre-launch expectations, no matter how realistic or unrealistic they were. In the early days, a lot of people in the comments to my videos declared that they were unsubscribing, which is absolutely understandable. It was a mess at that point. Others said they were only sticking around for the exclusive model, which did turn out to be a good decision, but I'll explain more about that later on. I was expecting a lot more animations to watch, but looking back, that was very unrealistic. These things take a long time to develop, they take a lot of money to develop, and I don't think Games Workshop were just going to chuck millions and millions of pounds at this without seeing if it would work first of all. So drip feed it was. It did seem a bit cynical at times, drawing the content out to get the most out of it. So we'd have like 5 Angels of Death, then we'd have a week's break, then we'd have a Hammer and Bolter and a week's break. And it just seemed like it was getting stretched further and further just so that they had enough content to fill up the year. Weeks without animations crept in, and then the gaps got longer and longer and longer, until I think we went 3 or 4 weeks one time without any sign of any animation, and that's just too long. It became pretty obvious at that point that there was never a chance of getting a weekly animation release, not a chance. Deep Strike was introduced and it became a bit of a running joke. People hated to see Deep Strike because everyone assumed that signified that there was not going to be an animation that week, so Deep Strike, as good a show as it was, not a lot of people liked it because it just sent out the wrong message. That was another issue that was brought up. No roadmap. We didn't know if a release was days out, weeks out, months out, or even going to be delivered in this year. And it turns out for a lot of stuff that was announced, it wasn't delivered this year. For me, the lowest point was over Christmas. Everyone was sitting at home, wanting something to watch, and Games Workshop put out an 8-minute episode of Masterclass. And it was all about painting Space Marines. It was totally rushed. It was probably the worst tutorial that's up on Masterclass. And it just wasn't good enough. Games Workshop people absolutely deserve a holiday the same as everyone else, but not pre-planning content is just a major fail for that size of organisation. I work for a big organisation, and if that happened to our customers, someone would get their bum seriously kicked, as they should. To Games Workshop's credit, and yes they do deserve credit, they put an improvement plan in place. They announced a roadmap, they announced that every show was going to get released every week, so there would be a Masterclass, a Loremasters and a Battle Report, and just for a bit of clarity they said that there would be an animated episode every second week, and I believe they've stuck to that so far. They haven't quite managed the 1 episode of each show every week, but they're getting there. So let's look at each area of Warhammer Plus individually. I'll give them a grade as well, just for fun, and you can tell me if my grades are correct or if I'm talking out my bum. Warhammer Vault is a very good addition. In Warhammer Vault you can look up old books and campaign books and White Dwarves and things like that, and you can look through all the artwork and you can read all the fluff, and they're a really good read. These books were previously very expensive, so having access to them is a big perk, for me anyway. I don't know about for you, but I really enjoy just picking up a book every now and again and reading through it. There is a big downside. They took the rules out for some reason. I would have really liked to look back and see what the old rules were, but that is not a thing that Games Workshop wanted to do, so they're all gone. It's a bit weird because it would take a lot longer processing books for the service as well, because they have to go in and take the rules out. I don't know why they did it, but they've done it. There's also White Dwarves, ranging from really old ones to some that are only a few months old, which is a strange move for me because I imagine a lot of people still buy old back issues. I remember a ton of these issues as they came out, but it's interesting to see how things used to be done. Take the Blood Angels issue for example. That one was released almost every single unit en masse. You got Death Company, you got Sanguinary Guard. It was a great release. Everything in the One White Dwarf. It was glorious. For me, Warhammer Vault gets an A. The only thing keeping it from being an A+ is the lack of rules and the lack of an app, but I believe that might be getting remedied in the future. At the moment, it's all browser based. So tell me what grade you would have given it and why. I'll be really interested to hear. Loremasters is next. Loremasters launched a good bit after the other shows because I think Wade Price, who was the presenter at the time, was unwell, which is totally understandable. Health comes before anything else, so I'm not bothered about that one little bit. When it did launch, I thought it was pretty good. A lot of people complained that it wasn't as in-depth as some of the other lore channels on YouTube, and I'd have to agree with that, but as a high-level overview, it was perfect. Sometimes it has seemed more like a marketing vehicle for Black Library than anything else, because it gives you kind of, they did this, but it doesn't tell you how they did this, so you have to go and read about it in Black Library. They don't actually say in the videos that you have to go and read about it in Black Library, but that's the kind of gist of it. I would have liked something a bit more substantial, maybe an hour in length, so that I could have bunged it on while I was painting, but alas, that wasn't to be. Production values, as with everything Games Workshop related, are top notch. Loremasters kind of became a victim of the sparse release schedule. If you only got a Loremasters, it was a disappointing week no matter which way you look at it. It just wasn't that worthwhile. If you got a Loremasters with something else, then it was great. It's just an addition, but it can't hold the whole service on its own. While all the Horus Heresy stuff was kicking off, we got 2 Loremasters, one on the Sons of Horus and one on the Imperial Fists, and it was a deep dive into those legions. And I thought, great, we're going to get one for each legion, but that didn't turn out to be the case, sadly. It turned out to just be a marketing vehicle for the new Age of Darkness box. Which is fair enough, Games Workshop are trying to sell products, but they also need to give us what we want. Out of 18 legions, there are going to be a lot of fans that haven't chosen Sons of Horus or Imperial Fists, so doing the other legions would be sensible. Maybe we'll get them in the future, but I just thought they might do them rapid fire in a row to keep interest high in Horus Heresy. About halfway through the year, a new presenter came in, Alex Doddy. At first it looked like he'd be supporting Wade, but from the looks of the last couple of episodes, he's taken over completely. I think Wade might have gone back to something else in Games Workshop, so good luck to him. I like Alex's style. He's an actor, he's got a very nice delivery, and he's a great addition to Loremasters. All in all, Loremasters has a ton of potential, but I'm going to give it a B-. It's not quite a C, and it's nowhere near an A. Next one, Battle Report, is great. As with all Games Workshop shows, production values are sky high. I couldn't ask for more. All the little informational box outs are very well done. I could watch them all day, and I have done at some points. I've just put them on and it moves from one to the next, and I've just watched them all in a row, and it's great. I love it. The presenters are usually Nick and Simon, and they do a great job. They've got great back and forth, they've got great banter between them. There's a few cheesy lines. I've never played a game when someone continually shouts blood for the blood god, but maybe I'm just playing with the wrong people. For the most part, it is really well done. Although there are 7 categories with 40k, Age of Sigmar, Kill Team, Warcry, Underworlds, Horus Heresy and Necromunda, there's only ever one battle report released every week. I think maybe that could be more, but seeing the production values, it must take a long time to produce these things, so I can understand one a week, even if I'm not happy about it. I will say, other YouTube channels pump out more than one battle report a week, and they're much smaller and don't have the resources of Games Workshop, so it all depends how much resource Games Workshop wants to throw at this. It does mean that if it's a battle report for a system that you're not really bothered about, then it might be a bit of a dud week for you. We've still to see a few systems as well. We've not seen Middle-earth strategy battle game, we've not seen Blood Bowl, we've not seen Adeptus Titanicus, we've not seen Aeronautica Imperialis, we've not seen Space Hulk. I've just added that one in the hope that someone will hear me and give us a brand new Space Hulk, because we've been waiting for so long and we need to get it. And they teased us with the blinking Kill Team reveal. Some of the themes that they've used for the battles have been absolutely stunning. The Angels of Death Kill Team battle, where the Gene Stealers are monochrome, the Terrain's monochrome, and then the Blood Angels are red, is just gorgeous. It looks amazing. They need to do more of that as well, although I'm not stupid enough to think that they can get 2 armies and terrain all painted up within a week, so these things will take time and a lot of forward planning, but I'm hopeful for the future because they've obviously got the imagination and the creativity to do these things, so that's really good. The Christmas special was also silly but inspired. It was Space Wolves trying to stop the Red Gobbo from delivering explosive presents. It was a wee bit of a fun one, bit silly, Not grimdark at all, I know a lot of people complain about that, but a wee departure from the usual ones was great. So what could they do better? Well, I think they need to get more guests in, and I mean guests from outside of Games Workshop, because they've had Louise Sugden, who also works for Warhammer TV. We've had Patrick, who I think was working on Battle Report at the time. Ben Johnson, who's the lead developer for Age of Sigmar. We've had Phil Kelly, but we've not really had anyone from outside of Games Workshop. There's a lot of really well-known people in the Games Workshop community, so I think they should start getting them in. That is a small gripe though. Battle Report gets a solid A from me. Next up is Masterclass, and it's GW's premium painting tutorials, and it's meant for intermediate to advanced painters. And it's really good. They finally allow their people to use wet palettes, so that was a big departure from the usual, let's get a palette pad and watch our paint dry right in front of us. Masterclass hasn't been without its troubles. In the early days I felt a lot of the tutorials were rushed just to get them out the door and have content that week. Space Marine tutorial, I'm looking at you again. And sometimes it looked like the finished article for the glamour shots had been touched up after the tutorial, and that would be the dark skinned head one. I just felt that the finished article was completely different from how it was painted in the tutorial, so that was a bit disappointing. I could be totally wrong in that one though, and it just dried really nicely, but I don't think so. Since it became more regular and it's almost weekly, then it's gone from strength to strength, and it's actually become a really useful repository for painting techniques. I was looking for a tutorial for painting black armour for no particular reason at all, and the first place I looked was on Masterclass. Now, I found a tutorial for black armour, but it wasn't quite what I was looking for, but still, it says a lot that it was the first place that I looked for it. I think when it really kicked into gear was when there was a 3-part series for painting the Eldar avatar to the heavy metal style, and I thought that was an excellent tutorial. It was really well done, the finished article was amazing, and I wish they would do more of them, like single figure painting tutorials rather than a single technique, so I hope they do more in the future. Obviously the production values are great, you can see every single brush stroke and you get so many close-ups. I know these tutorials are available all across the internet in many different forms. It all depends just who you like. It's up to you entirely. You've got choice. These ones are behind a paywall right enough, but if you enjoy them, go for them. The GW ones are certainly as polished and well delivered as any of them. Louise Sugden and Aidan Daly are the presenters. They're both fantastic painters, but I think Louise is slightly more engaging and slightly easier to follow. All in all, Masterclass is really well done. It's had a few missteps along the way, so it gets an A-. If you agree or think I'm talking absolute rubbish, then tell me in the comments below. If you disagree with me and you really want to stick it to me, there's a little red button that says subscribe, that'll do the job. There are a few deep strikes which consist of Games Workshop employees sitting around talking about the best bits of the animations, but they seem to have fallen off recently. We've not had one for the last couple of animations, so I wish they would come back. I don't think Exodite got one, and I don't think Interrogator got one either. Maybe Interrogator will get one when the run finishes, but I'm not so sure. Maybe people were right and they do only appear when there's no animation in the pipeline. They're good, but they're irregular, so I'm not even going to give it a grade. So now on to the main draw, which is the animations. And sadly, there haven't been as many as I thought there would be from the pre-launch announcement. From the sizzle reel, it looked like there'd be a bunch of different animated shows, but it actually turned out that most of them were Hammer and Bolter episodes, which is Games Workshop's worst animated show, as in it's got the worst animation, not that it's the worst show. So let's talk about Hammer and Bolter first. It's had 12 episodes in all. I can't really grade them because they vary in quality so much. So I'll talk about my favourites and the ones that I really didn't like. Depending on the story, sometimes the animation really suits it and sometimes it lets it down badly. The real standouts for me are Death's Hand, which is a cool Inquisitor story. We see all their retinues and just how cool Inquisitors are really. The next one is Bound for Greatness, which shows how easily chaos can take root on even the most pious of Imperial worlds. In the Garden of Ghosts was the Eldar episode, which could make grown men weep. Some of the animation there wasn't great, but the overall story was really emotional. That was a really good episode. And Artifacts, which had Black Legion Terminators against Necrons. Those were the standouts for me. Another one worth mentioning was Double or Nothing, which was the first AOS animation, and that arrived in June of this year. So not too long ago, and that was the first time AOS fans could see their animated episodes. So that showed Hamilcar Beareater. Hamilcar? And it was a really funny one, and I loved that episode. We've only had 2 AOS episodes in total. It's not all been good though, there have been a few stinkers. Cadia stands, well, it wasn't a bad story. It had Tyranids versus Imperial Guards, and since the Tyranids were so fast, the shutter slideshow nature of Hammer and Bolter animation didn't keep up. There was a lot of times someone was standing there, you'd see a Tyranid, and then that person would be dead in the next frame. So it didn't really work for me. A bit of a letdown. The Imperial Guard episode should have been cool, and it wasn't. I wasn't such a fan of Plague Song either. It was an Nurgle one. It was just too relentlessly grim for me. I know that sounds strange being into Warhammer 40k, which is grimdark, but I just thought it was just too relentless. It was just disgusting. And at the end, I was just like, I want this to finish. I don't want to see any more. I'm done. I know a lot of people loved that one, so I'll have to be careful what I say. You probably all hate me now, but I didn't like it. It would be boring if we all liked the same stuff. I didn't like A Question of Faith either. I don't really like the sisters' aesthetic with their church steeples all over their shoulders and all that kind of stuff. So that episode wasn't for me either. Loads of people loved it, so each to their own. So for Hammer and Bolter, if you can get past the limited animation style, there are some real gems in there. So like I said, I can't grade Hammer and Bolter as a whole. The Exodite showed so much promise. The visuals looked stunning, and it looked like a really cool insight into the lives of Tau, but it was just disappointing. Shazfrey Lacoma as a main character was absolutely fine, but the story to support her wasn't there. It was pretty generic. If you're a Tau fan, I think you'd be pretty gutted at how your favourites were portrayed in the Exodite. They were pretty weak, they were pathetic at points, they died easily, they didn't really kill much. It was not a good portrayal of Tau. Also, at the beginning, and I think this might have put people's backs up more than anything, everyone assumed because the pace of the show was really slow that it would be a 10-episode run. But it became very clear very early that it was going to be 3 episodes, which was no way enough for character development or plot development, so everything was rushed. I say rushed, but it did seem very slow. It seemed they did actually very little within the 3 episodes. There was a lot of filler in it, like long shots and things like that, so not a lot happened in it. It also seemed like everyone was expendable, but we didn't really care because we didn't get to know them in that short time. My main worry at the time was that since the service was so threadbare, there wasn't a lot released every week, so if something was released and it was hyped up, but it was a total stinker, then that could really make people unsub, and that proved to be the case for a lot of people. That's anecdotal evidence from the comments, but I think a lot of people did unsubscribe at that point. I'm being very negative here, but there were a few high points. Clancy Brown of Shawshank Redemption and Starship Troopers fame was the voice of the Exodite, so that was really cool. Some of the close combat battles between Titans, absolutely awesome. I'd never seen anything like that before, and I want to see more of it. That was so cool. I'm a Warhammer 40k fan, so seeing that kind of stuff is just an absolute dream. So that was really good. The ending was better than the rest of the show put together. I'd watch it as a spectacle, but not as a story. It gets a C- from me, which might seem harsh, but I think because it was hyped up so much, because it showed so much promise, and for me it didn't deliver, that's why I'm giving it that grade. Interrogator instantly caught my attention. The premise is that Jurgen, the Interrogator, his Inquisitors died and he's fallen on hard times. It's presented in a noir style, totally black and white, and it has infinite potential because it involves Inquisitors and Inquisitory stuff, so there's infinite scope for anything to happen, which is great. Jurgen's a complex character, he's a substance abuser, but he's a total badass. He can fight. Throughout the show we learn a lot more about his past and his abilities. At first I thought Games Workshop had pulled an Exodite and only given us 3 episodes in Act 1. That actually proved to be true. Act 1 was 3 episodes long, but fortunately Act 2 followed a couple of weeks later, so that was no problem at all. I think it's going to be 3 acts with 3 episodes each, so 9 episodes in total. So what's it actually like? Well, it's definitely an adult show. It is brutal, it pulls no punches. I think there must be a rule in it that when someone takes a headshot, their eye has to pop out. So it's that brutal. Don't watch it in front of children at all. Most of the characters Jurgen and his big buddy Balder meet along the way are really interesting and unique, and they push the story along successfully. It's only up to the end of Act 2 at the moment, and I have to say I enjoyed it a lot more when I binge watched it all in a row rather than waiting each week for it, because it is quite complex, so you miss who characters are and things like that. So if you watch it all in a row as one movie, then it's really good. I did enjoy it that way a lot more. You could maybe do that now that there's a lot of episodes out. It also meant that the odd week episode didn't derail the whole thing. There are a load of twists and turns, and overall I'd say it's a great addition to the world of Warhammer 40k. At the moment I'm giving it a B+, but that could go up or down depending on how good Act 3 is. Also deserving are the other animations added. Astartes is on there. I know that really doesn't count because it's been available on YouTube and other places for years and years and years, and it's really sad we've not had Astartes 2 yet, but it's probably the best example of Warhammer 40k filmmaking ever. The set pieces are absolutely fantastic. The photography is amazing. It's just, all in all, it's just brilliant. Another great one, and a bit of a surprise, was a video showing how a Space Marine gets armed and armoured before a battle, and just how many men are needed to actually put their armour on and bless everything. It's incredible. I can't imagine them getting out the door very quickly in an emergency, but maybe they've got other protocols for that. It's really well done. The animation is really high quality, and it's very worth a watch. It is available on Warhammer Community as well, so you don't have to get Warhammer Plus for it. It is a sign of things to come and the quality that can be produced, so I'm really excited for the future. Now on to my favourite thing in Warhammer Plus, and judging by a lot of the comments on the internet and in my comments, it's a lot of other people's too, and that is, of course, Angels of Death. It's the story of the Sword of Baal, which is a Blood Angel ship, and it's stranded above a planet with an Imperial fleet in tow. I think you can guess what the story is going to be. They have to make planetfall because there's warp storms that are cutting off communications. It is the storyline that's been used in a million Warhammer 40k stories before, but it doesn't make it any less good. Yes, the whole my comms aren't working, it's a warp storm that's stopping it thing has been done to death, but that doesn't stop the sheer joy from seeing Blood Angels and Gene Stealers on the big screen, or at least my big screen, my big television. It is an absolute joy to watch. Sound design is very dodgy in places, with some strikes and bolter shots sounding like a wet fart on occasion. It seems like such a silly thing too. Surely someone watched it, someone that loves this universe, and they thought that's a bit weak and they'd go and change it. But no, it made it into final production, but it is something that could be sorted in future. We just need bolter shots to hit hard, and we need, when someone gets pushed through a wall, make it sound like they get pushed through a wall and not through a bit of paper. The shaky cam almost made me lose my lunch on a few occasions as well. Someone in the comments suggested that it might be because they're trying to cover up some weak animation, but I'm not sure if that's true or not. All I know is it's used a lot. I get motion sick really easily, so it wasn't great for me. Pure Strain Gene Stealers seemed a bit slow and weak. We know from Space Hulk, Pure Strain Gene Stealers can drop down out a vent and snip the head off a Terminator. So the fact that power armoured Space Marines could match up to them so easily was a bit of a disappointment. They should have been more dangerous. My last gripe, and this is a small one, is that Kazarian, who's one of the main characters in it, he's just a bit whiny. It's only the Black Rage, get over it man! Other than those issues, I totally loved Angels of Death. I thought they built the tension really well, I really liked the story, there were twists, there were turns, I got to see Gene Stealer cults on the screen for the first time ever. It was just amazing. The action scenes were all amazing, it was great to see the Blood Angels kick some butt, but the thing that I really liked, and this might seem a strange thing, was seeing the Gene Stealer cults prepare for battle. I thought, being a hive mind, they would just be kind of like zombies and they'd just go where they're needed, but they did rousing speeches and they got all fired up before a battle. I thought that was really cool and a really nice insight into how they work. Kind of same for the Blood Angels as well, seeing them off duty and just wandering around the ship was great as well. I also never thought I'd say this, but a Tech Marine became my favourite character. So, Hadriel, I salute you. You managed to be interesting, you managed to be badass, you managed to kick some serious butt, and I never thought that would happen. I thought it would be a Terminator or a Death Watch captain or something like that, but no, it was a Tech Marine. A+, top of the class. Well done, Angels of Death. There's a prequel to Angels of Death on the way, and while I would have preferred Season 2, anything Angels of Death is welcome. And I hope the reason that Season 2 hasn't dropped yet is because they're spending a lot of time making it great because Season 1 was such a big hit. So the big question is, was Warhammer Plus worth it, and will I resub? The answer to both those questions are yes I will. It was worth it, at least from a monetary point of view. We got vouchers, we got to watch all the shows, but most of all, we got the miniature at the end of the year. And the miniature was going for more than the cost of an annual subscription on eBay. I didn't sell mine, but I didn't want to, and I'm very happy with the value I got out of the whole service. I had access to Warhammer Vault and all the other things, and it wasn't a bad package at all. While filming this, I totally forgot about access to the apps, so you get them as well. You get access to the Warhammer 40k one and the Age of Sigmar one, and while I've not used them a lot over the year, I've used them some, so it's really good and really convenient just to have them available. Don't get me wrong, if you'd asked if I'd resub at Christmas, I would have said absolutely no way. I was really angry with Games Workshop because I thought they treated us badly. I thought we're paying customers and they gave us that 8-minute rubbishy tutorial. It was a bit of a slap in the face. But since then, with their improvement plan, they've got it in a place that is almost good. All I ever wanted was one of each show a week. We've almost got that, but not quite. And I wanted regular animations. Now, while the animations are 2 weekly, weekly would be better, obviously, but I like the fact that we know when one will be coming, so we don't have to worry about it. The models for year 2 look absolutely fantastic, so I'm definitely going to resub and get them both. I do want to know a lot more about what we're getting for year 2. I don't think they've put out a roadmap of what's coming yet, but I hope they do that soon. Like before Wednesday, you know, when the new subscriptions start. That would be great. Let me know in the comments if you're unsubbing, you're resubbing, any opinions on Warhammer Plus at all. Now, don't have a go at me for resubbing. I have my own reasons. You'll have your own reasons. So let's just keep it friendly, okay? If you're looking for something else to watch, I'd recommend this one. Cheers.